Hello, good evening. Welcome to Monday's North West Tonight. I'm Roger Johnson. Thank you for joining us this evening. Our top story. A woman who claims that she was drugged and sexually assaulted in a Greater Manchester police cell tells us she has no confidence in the official investigation.
Are Greater Manchester Police going to part with anything that incriminates them in any way?
There are concerns that some CCTV footage of Zaina Imam's time in custody is missing. Also tonight, a fine mess for nurses. The NHS workers quite literally paying the price just for going to work. We've got the tale of Hartley's heroics, the Lancashire lad who had India's cricketing superstars in a spin on his England debut. Comedy history goes under the hammer. It's your chance to bid on a Phoenix Nights nugget.
And we've started this week off on a bit of a wet note. But the good news is, tomorrow it's an improving story. Join me at the end of the programme and I'll tell you all about the sunshine.
A woman from Salford who claims that she was drugged and sexually assaulted at a Greater Manchester police station has told the BBC that she has no confidence in the official investigations into her allegations. Zaina Imam waived her right to anonymity to speak out. There are concerns that 2 hours of the CCTV footage of her time in custody are missing. And just a warning, you may find some of the scenes in Phil McCann's report upsetting.
Zaina Imam is brought into a cell at Pendleton Police Station and strip-searched by a group of female police officers who restrain her, face down. They leave her topless. She was arrested after a minor altercation with a police officer who was called to her home in Salford because of a concern for her welfare. She stays in the cell for hours. But it's what happens the next morning, when the recording goes blank for an hour, which is leading Zaina to ask questions.
You thought that the police are there to help, and custody should be the safest place. A police station should be the safest place.
Zaina was taken to hospital after her detention here, where she says she was told there was evidence of sexual injuries. She says she thinks she may have been drugged by a drink that she was given shortly before the recording goes blank for an hour. Before and after this gap, Zaina says she looks agitated. She says she may have been sexually assaulted. There are now 2 reviews looking into it.
I'd be lying if I said I was confident in either process.
When Zaina's allegations were first broadcast on Sky News last year, they led to outrage and protests. The police watchdog, the IOPC, announced it was investigating, and Greater Manchester's Mayor and Police Commissioner Andy Burnham set up a review into the way people are treated in custody, headed up by Dame Vera Baird, the government's former National Victims Commissioner.
I fail to understand how anybody can conduct a thorough review or a thorough investigation into my experience with Greater Manchester Police unless they have all the evidence.
Greater Manchester Police has always insisted that that footage from here in Pendleton was missing, not because it was being withheld, but because it was burnt onto a number of discs and one of them had corrupted. By the time that was realised, they said it had been automatically deleted from the servers that it was stored on. The force said digital forensics professionals had been brought in, and the IOPC said attempts to retrieve the footage were ongoing. An internal email from 2022 said CCTV had been reviewed and no assault of any type took place. Zaina's complaint, it said, was considered fanciful. But Zaina wants change on a national scale.
Body-worn video, vehicle footage, custody footage should not be held with the police force in question. It should be with a complete independent body.
Greater Manchester Police says it's supporting the reviews of what went on here to reassure people that those it comes into contact with are treated with respect.
What's Phil McCann reporting? He's here. So these reviews, what do we know about when they'll actually be released?
Well, first of all, that review by Dame Vera Baird, the one commissioned by the Mayor, Andy Burnham, into Zaina's allegations and other allegations from other people that are similar, that review has been completed, but I'm told the review itself needs to be reviewed. It should be released by May. Incidentally, we're told that GMP has complied with everything that review team has asked for. Then there's the review by the watchdog, the IOPC. It says it's made considerable progress with its review. No clue, though, as to when it will be released.
OK, Phil, thank you very much. Phil McCann there. Now, the Rochdale by-election, brought about, of course, by the death of the Labour MP Sir Tony Lloyd, is expected to take place on Thursday, February the 29th. Sir Tony, who was 73, died 12 days ago from blood cancer. He'd represented Rochdale for more than 6 years. He'd held the seat for Labour in 2019 with a majority of almost 10,000. Two men who stole almost £160,000 after blowing up cash machines have been jailed after stealing the money. Ben Thompson from Wythenshawe and Wesley Shepherd from Sale were spotted at Manchester Airport going on holiday. Thompson was jailed for 20 years, Shepherd for 18 years and 8 months. The man's been arrested after a driver failed to stop for police and then crashed into another car in Bolton. The driver of the vehicle being pursued was treated for his injuries, while the other driver was unhurt. A man is now being held on suspicion of dangerous driving and failing to stop. Now, a row over parking permits for staff at a Greater Manchester hospital has left one nurse saying that she would rather face court than pay a fine. The trust, which runs the Royal Oldham, says the permits are the fairest way to allocate spaces. The local MP says that they need to find a solution to the lack of provision. As our health correspondent, Jill Dummigan, has been finding out today.
Another busy day in the car parks of the Royal Oldham.
We went round for about 20 minutes trying to find car parking space. Even disabled ones were taken, just couldn't find anywhere, so we've had to come in a side street and park.
Have you got a disabled badge?
Yeah, we've
then?
got a disabled badge, yeah.
But you still couldn't find them?
Still couldn't find anything to park.
The streets around are resident only. The nearest other car park is down a hill, difficult for 90-year-old Elsie's wheelchair.
There's quite a few tickets that we've noticed as we've come round on the top car park near the A&E bit and some further round, weren't there?
About 20 cars we've seen with tickets on them.
At least.
That's a lot, isn't it? And some with disabled badges on have got tickets because they've parked somewhere where it looks like it's yellow lines, but it's got marks on for loading and unloading, and they've parked there because there's nowhere else to park.
During COVID, parking at all hospitals was free, but last summer the Trust, like all of them, reintroduced charges, enforcing penalties from December. It also introduced a permit scheme for the staff car parks in consultation with the unions and, they say, the staff themselves. But the number of permits on offer is way below the number of staff who want them, which means they have to choose between battling it out with everybody else in the public car parks, going off-site or risking a fine.
The first one I got was when I was asked to go to cover a shift at short notice.
Nurse Emma Hopwood applied for a permit last July, but hasn't yet received one.
Managed to find a parking space within the staff bays, parked there and got issued with a fine. My colleague who had gone in to help, she also received a parking charge notice.
Emma says there were no public spaces available. Her appeal against the fine was refused, and she says many are in her position.
I've got colleagues that they don't want to go to work anymore because it's just not worth the hassle, really, and the anxiety what they're facing.
The local MP says she has sympathy with the Trust's problem, but it needs to be sorted.
We have a problem around staff retention in the NHS as a whole. All sorts of safety issues that we need to make sure that our staff are safe.
The Trust says the permits are the fairest way of allocating spaces, but they appreciate how frustrating that is for those who haven't got one. They add that they're continuing to review all staff transport options, including parking, to improve the experience of staff and patients. Emma hasn't paid the fine.
I'm going to carry on appealing it. If they send me to court, then I'll go to court and I'll appeal it there. We're trying to serve the public. We're being penalised for it.
Jill Dummigan, BBC North West Tonight at the Royal Oldham.
It's a controversial issue, parking at hospitals, for everybody, of course, staff, patients and visitors right across the North West. So let us know your experiences, whether you work for the NHS or visit to use their services, like most of us do. Email with your stories. Please include your contact details. That's how you can get in touch. The easiest way is probably email nwt@bbc.co.uk. Crucially, give us, when I say contact details, if you've got a phone number, that would be really helpful. Those are the ways you can get in touch. Now, a woman from Oldham says that she's lucky to be alive after she and her husband were intentionally run over as they walked home from a night out. The driver of the car which hit them, 22-year-old Joshua Bunn, was jailed today for more than 4.5 years for the unprovoked attack, as Kevin Fitzpatrick reports.
The terrifying moment an out-of-control driver deliberately runs over innocent bystanders before he reverses up and does it again. We pause the footage because it's so disturbing. Claire and Connor Winters were walking home past the Mazo restaurant in Royton in September 2020 when Joshua Bunn staggered past them towards his car. Mr Winters suggested he was too drunk to drive, and apparently affronted by this, Bunn accelerated into him before reversing and twice hitting Mrs Winters. Incredibly, the couple only suffered minor injuries with bad bruising to their legs, but severe trauma to their mental health, especially the thought that it could have been much worse had there not been a gap in the wall.
It happened really quick. It almost felt like it wasn't happening. It was a really surreal experience. I just remember thinking, like, this is it. I'm gonna die. Reverse that car back again, and this hit now. This is gonna be it. And in that moment, all I could think about was my little girl and that she was going to wake up in the morning without a mum.
Were you struggling to believe what was happening?
Yeah, and I just remember hearing the car engine next to my face and being able to smell the oil. It was awful.
And thank God there was a wall behind and a wall with a gap. You went through the gap, did you?
I did go through the gap, yeah. I think otherwise, if it hadn't had that gap there, I would have been crushed and pinned against the wall by the car.
So what were you and your husband like in terms of injuries?
I myself, from my waist down, were covered in bruises. Like the next day, my legs were black. And my husband sustained a calf injury, but apart from that, we thankfully didn't have any other physical injuries, just obviously the mental impact that an incident like that has on you.
Bunn, who was 19 at the time, denied being drunk and claimed he blacked out and couldn't remember what happened. It took him 3 years to admit it. He was jailed for 4 years and 7 months and banned from driving for 2 years on his release. Kevin Fitzpatrick, BBC North West Tonight, Minchell Street Crown Court.
Now, this time of year is a tough time of year for the region's hill farmers, with the winter, of course, bringing unpredictable and sometimes very harsh weather. But this year, many of them say that they are struggling more than usual. Their subsidies changed after Brexit, and now farmers are rewarded for looking after the environment. But some hill farmers say that the new system has seen their income drop by nearly 40%. Here's our environment correspondent, Judy Hobson.
Upland hill farmers have a unique set of challenges: harsh weather, rugged landscapes and a sense of isolation. But now there's a bigger challenge, one that these farmers say is threatening their industry. Helen Drinkall's family have been farmers for centuries in Lancashire. When the basic payment scheme was phased out after Brexit, they had to make big changes.
We've kind of significantly cut cattle numbers, and the buildings that those cattle used to be housed in, we've now converted half of them into storage.
Helen says the old payment scheme was phased out too quickly, cutting off vital funding for Upland hill farmers.
It's really hard to plan and invest and kind of know where to take the business. I feel like we've just been kind of left treading water for a few years.
The new schemes reward farmers for looking after the land, but Helen says there aren't many options for this farm.
The future of our farm is in the hands of the people designing the schemes, which is quite a scary thought, really, isn't it?
A study by the National Farmers Union found that, on average, Upland hill farmers have lost 37% of their income. The government has now said it will introduce new options for upland farmers in the summer.
The new schemes the Secretary of State announced in January, they're a bit like the Emperor's new clothes. I'm regularly getting phone calls from farmers saying, what can I do? It's really difficult. Our situation is pretty desperate. You know, young farmers, older farmers, tenant farmers, owner-occupiers, everyone's feeling the stress.
A spokesperson for the government told us, we continue to do all we can to support British upland farmers and will take on board feedback so that our schemes work in the best possible way. Thomas Binns farms at Clitheroe. He welcomes the government rethink, but says it lacks details.
We've been lobbying hard for the last 2 years to not disenfranchise upland farming on the basis that it's a little bit too difficult to deal with at this stage. It's good that there are some measures now that farmers can evaluate. I think the big worry is that single farm payment under the current schemes means less food production. There's no doubt about that in terms of switching the emphasis from productivity towards the environment.
Upland hill farmers look after these iconic landscapes, but many say without better protection, their future looks increasingly bleak. Judy Hobson, BBC North West Tonight, Lancashire.
Right, it's not quite as cold where this fella is at the moment. It's time to catch up with Frank Rothwell. We haven't spoken to him for, 10 days or more, I think. The 73-year-old from Oldham. He's rowing the Atlantic solo, you probably remember, for the second time. And he's doing it for Alzheimer's research. The race that he's taking part in set off from the Canaries almost 7 weeks ago, middle of December. And Frank, who is already the oldest person to row the ocean alone, is now less than 500 miles from the finish in Antigua. You might remember early in the race, he capsized twice in one day and was thrown overboard. Well, he told me earlier that the boat rolled over again a couple of nights ago.
The ventilator left all the water in, so all my clothes that were out got absolutely drenched through. So I had to start tidying up again inside. But I got it sorted in a couple of hours, and we're all just scratch again now. I'm used to it now.
You don't regret doing it, though, Frank?
Absolutely not. At the moment, I've raised nearly £200,000, and I've not got there yet. And that's for to find a cure for Alzheimer's and dementia. And no, I don't regret that one little bit.
How about wildlife, Frank? What have you seen?
Nothing. I've just seen a bird. Other people have seen loads, but I've seen nothing. I haven't even seen an aeroplane.
So you've not seen any ships, you've not seen any aeroplanes. You really have been out there on your own, haven't you?
It's known as the world's toughest row. Oh, and it's much harder for me than what it was last time. I'm older, I'm an encourager now, so I suppose that doesn't help.
Is it tough being out there on your own, day in, out, week in, week out?
I'm a family man. I've got a lovely family and a lovely wife, and I miss them like crazy, you know. And this time it's been much more difficult. But also, one of the things I've decided to do is to not boil any water. Mostly the boats, they boil water, make tea and make food, but I don't do that. I have my food cold. I'm eating things like pot noodles. Well, the idea is with pot noodles, as you probably well know, is that you can put them in boiling water. Well, I just put them in normal cold water, leave them for longer, and then just like having a cold curry in the morning.
Listen, you just take care. The end is in sight, and thank you for talking to us.
I don't know where you've been in the world, but it's 470 miles. You can't see 470 miles. It's not in sight at all. It's there somewhere.
All right, the end is near, Frank. The end is near. Take care.
Thanks, Roger. Roger, phone me anytime. Bye.
Such a character, isn't he, Frank? He should finish middle of next week. The sat phone's a bit crackly, but his enthusiasm comes through, doesn't it? Right, let's talk to Richard. He's got the rest of the sport tonight. And what a debut. Middle of the football season, we're talking cricket, because this was something else.
It really was, yeah. Tom Harley, Lancashire spinner, batted in the first innings, but then he took 7 wickets for just 62 runs to steer England to victory, historic victory in Hyderabad. His figures, Roger, are the best for a debutant English spinner since the 1930s. Tom, who honed his skills at Ormskirk Cricket Club, has made his country, and especially his family, incredibly proud, as I found out when I went to meet them a little earlier today. This was a dream test debut for Lancashire's left-arm spinner, who showed his class and mental toughness on cricket's biggest stage.
Bowling us to victory, he can only answer that, giving belief in someone and their talent and letting them believe in themselves. It's amazing what can happen.
Tom has certainly made his friends and family very proud, including his mum and sister, who today were working at the family's horticultural business in Maghull in Merseyside.
We're stunned, we're amazed, we are...
We were a bit unwell yesterday with the heart rate soaring. Yeah, it's just incredible. I think we've all laughed, we've all cried, Dad's been pacing up and down the living room. Like, it's been an absolute roller coaster.
Now, I know he does a bit of work here, doesn't he?
He does.
In the garden centre, yeah. Now, you're older than him.
I am.
Aren't you, Annabelle? Do you boss him around?
Oh, well, I like to try. Yeah, so when he's in the off-season, when he's not playing or training, if he's got, a spare day or two, he's all hands on deck. He's an athletic lad. We were sporty kids, so he was always gonna be doing something with sport. He has always had the ability, but yeah, I think we didn't quite realise how good he was until yesterday.
Ben Stokes talked about self-belief being the key. Has he always had that self-belief?
Well, I don't think he's ever had any self-doubt. He's not like an arrogant character. He's completely unfazed by events, really.
I don't really think words can do it justice how proud we are of him. It's just, none of us could have imagined that the past 4 days would have happened the way that they have. So, yeah, unbelievably proud.
And no wonder, after Tom showed he has the talent and the temperament to truly blossom at the very top level. What a performance it was. Emotions ran high at Anfield yesterday for Jurgen Klopp's first match since he announced he's leaving at the end of the season. Liverpool cruised past Norwich 5-2 in the fourth round of the FA Cup. First half goals from Curtis Jones, this one from Darwin Núñez, were followed by a dominant second half display against their championship opponents. And the boss is clear that the performance of his players has to remain the focus, not his departure.
Very emotional. I just have to make sure that I don't get on that side of it. I pull myself together, if you want. But of course, in the games, we need to be warriors and not celebrate the old man on the sideline.
Manchester United are also through, but not without a scare against League Two's Newport County, who are 73 league places below the Reds. United were pegged back to 2-2 by the Welsh side, but clinched victory with goals from Anthony and Rasmus Højlund. United will face either Bristol City or Nottingham Forest in round 5. Full draw, of course, is on the BBC Sport website. Blackburn Rovers will be hoping to join them in the 5th round as well. Rovers host Wrexham at Ewood Park tonight. And finally, many congratulations to Cheshire Phoenix, who won basketball's BBL trophy for the 6th time at the weekend, the 2nd time in 3 seasons as well, after a superb second half display, the final in Birmingham. Phoenix beating London Lions by 98 points to 82. Particularly came on strong at the end, Roger. Brilliant from Cheshire Phoenix.
Yeah, and Mia Brooks won another gold at the weekend as well, didn't she? Snowboarding.
So many things to celebrate.
Yeah, great for Cheshire. Well done. Thank you very much indeed, Rich. Weather in a minute with Kay. Before that, a treasure trove of props from the cult comedy Phoenix Nights are going up for auction this week. 27 lots, attracting huge interest already from right across the country. Fans keen to get their hands on a piece of TV history, as Jonas Muller reports.
You're listening to Chorley FM. I'm Paul Leroy. The Phoenix Club in Bolton has its grand reopening tonight.
Peter Kay's award-winning and iconic British comedy about owner Brian Potter and his loyal staff. More than 2 decades on, props from Phoenix Nights are to be auctioned.
I think a lot of the pieces are decorative, so they're good wall pieces. So this will be really good on somebody's wall, and it's just a piece of local history.
The memorabilia is spread from the show's 2 seasons. A total of 27 different items will go up for sale.
It's come in from a storage container, and the chap was asked to clear the container, and he's found all these wonderful items inside. He called us because we sold the Phoenix nightclub sign last year and got $3,000 for that one.
Now we hit the pressure pad. Bingo. It's the Phoenix Club.
This billboard is expected to be a top seller. Max and Paddy's Road to Nowhere was of course a spin-off, and this beach cutout will also be available to buy to the highest bidder.
Seeing big demands for collector's items specifically, and things into the later 20th century, so really nostalgic items are doing well.
Phoenix Nights falls into that?
Definitely, yes, yeah.
Things I'm going to do to you.
Peter Kay's Phoenix Nights raised more than £5 million through live shows at Manchester Arena 15 years after the last episode. The original cast gave up their time for free. Back in 2017, Peter Kay told BBC Radio Manchester that a third series was written and planned, but never made it to air. And more recently, he said that if it did return, it could be a film.
You're a fan of the show?
Yes.
What did you think of it?
Brilliant. It was really popular, especially in towns like Chorley and Bolton and the surrounding area.
And you were a fan. What did you like about it?
What did I like about it? It was just good, wasn't it? It was very funny, well written.
Garlic bread. That's right, Max. Garlic bread. It's the future. I've tasted it.
You can't catch the show on any streaming services in Bolton or anywhere else in the UK, but some fans can't get enough of this programme and will be excited at owning part of it. Eunice Muller, BBC Northwest Tonight.
Yeah, rare opportunity. Right, let's quickly catch up with the weather. Kay's here.
And it's been wet, Roger, a wet start to the week. We have got a yellow warning in force. I'll come to that in a minute. But most of us have had scenes like this today. A lot of heavy cloud, fair bit of rain, no sunshine for Sunshine Girl in Overton. And Bolton, we had some heavy rain as well, thick cloud, but made for a fairly decent picture. Now, the next couple of days, we are going to be improving as we head through tomorrow. So we are going to get some spells of sunshine from the north. And then it is going to turn windy as we head through into Wednesday. So quite a blustery feeling day. So there's that front that we've had today that brought the rain. It is still raining now. The rain will continue, but it'll get lighter and patchier as we head overnight. High pressure calms things down for tomorrow, but you see that front? That's an active cold front, so it's going to be quite a blustery day on Wednesday with some heavy downpours of rain. No warnings for that, but still this warning across more northern parts. That's valid until 5 o'clock in the morning. Mainly because it's going to be Pennine routes that continues to see that rain, in total about 30 to 50 millimetres. Just bear that in mind because you're going to get a lot of spray on the roads if you're heading on motorways or over Pennine routes first thing in the morning. Just take it easy. Between about 5 and 7 degrees, so it's not going to be cold, but it will be a cloudy, grey start to the day, a bit damp in places. But we'll see it brightening from the north. So as we head towards midday, we should get some decent spells of sunshine on the Isle of Man and across all parts into the afternoon. Now, temperatures tomorrow will get to about 7 to 9 degrees. 7 is actually the average for this time of year, with a fairly gentle breeze as we go through the day. So fine conditions, but then the winds start to strengthen. Here's that cold front. It's going to rattle through as we head through Wednesday. Some heavy downpours expected. High pressure then builds again, so things calm down for Thursday. Many of us on Wednesday, certainly through the morning, dry and fine. Best of the sunshine at first. Cloud starts to build in. We start to get that rain pushing in towards the end of the afternoon, and it will be heaviest for Cumbria and Lancashire. Temperature-wise, we're going to get to about 10 or 11 degrees, but it will be a blustery day. Gusts, particularly for the coast, Roger, about 40, 45 miles per hour.
So, you know, there's only you and me in this room, and, we talk to ourselves effectively.
Yeah.
And you always wonder whether there are people watching. We know there are.
Oh, yeah, it's just...
And then when we say, tell us about something.
Yeah.
Hospital parking. Thank you for the emails.
Ooh.
We'll talk tomorrow. Good night.
See you then.
Hello.